Hi everyone, welcome. I'm down here in my wormery, and on my bench where I normally tend to my worm bins, you can see I've got this crazy contraption set up over here. See, basically it's a bunch of Christmas lights taped to the inside of this aluminum serving tray, and I've got a variety of different this and that, but I guess the main thing is the GoPro camera mounted over there, taking images of one of our African nightcrawler systems where it's been kind of a problem now for many months with mites, and usually we come onto my system and we open things up and turn on the lights, and then things squirm out of view. But here, for a little change of view, I figured, hey, what if instead of filming everything vanishing out of view, what if we had a gradual observation of a freshly reset feeding area over here, which has been out this way all night with only these gentle lights illuminating it, creating this time-lapse video. And I'm about to end the time-lapse, but I'd figured why not end it in such a way where the light condition suddenly changes, and now all the worms that have been getting filmed and the mites coming up onto the paper and for the bait will, hopefully just the worms will be leaving and the mites will remain so they could be tended to. But I'm definitely looking forward to see what kind of footage comes out of that GoPro in the end. But we're going to start by turning on the lights over here. And I've got a couple drop lamps right here within close view. I'm going to turn the room lights on. And then in a little while, what's over here is going to hopefully be gone. All these little worms. Leaving only mites on the bait station. And then I could... I guess we'll just get in the habit of removing and discarding the bait that's been put out there for them until we don't see anymore. So here on this camera too, I'm going to use a little time lapse to help speed things up. So let me do that, and let's see. Actually, we should begin with the lights, right? Good morning. I don't think that this is going to take too long. Right below the bait, we always seem to find a nice pile of worms there. So let's start lining up the stuff that needs to be taken out, taken away. Let's give the worms a little chance to exit. Well, it does seem like we've managed to get a few worms to leave on their own accord, but at this point I'm just evicting them. What I'm curious of is whether or not there's mites inside the folded over layer in between the two sheets of paper. Normally it wasn't folded over like this, it was just laying flat, so we can immediately see what was happening on both surfaces. Here we've got to kind of unfold the paper to see. Maybe we can do that, and then in the process we'll get a bunch of worms to just drop off on their own. You can see why I'd been folding it at this point, because the big hole in the middle. It does seem like if we really needed to or wanted to, we could probably use this paper a little less folded up. But I guess I did sort of answer my question that within the fold I can see a few mites, but I guess that kind of takes us to the number of mites that this session of baiting succeeded in rounding up. It was a pretty good amount from what I could tell. So I think, like I've done in the past, yeah, out here on the outside is where we're definitely seeing the greatest number of mites. So we'll give this a rinse like we've been doing in recycle. I'll assume we're going to do the same here for the piece of melon rind, which is quite mobbed with mites, as is the bread. And we've kind of switched over now to not using the type of bait that we would normally just rinse off and reuse, but we're going to switch over to bait that simply gets discarded after each use. I did have to come down here prepared to reset the bait, which I did. Got some little bits of bread over here soaking in half and half this time. I've been using milk up until now, whole milk. I don't think it's going to make much difference. I'm sure with the half and half, it's just milk combined with cream makes it into probably even a more tempting place for the mites to go check out. So this doesn't look too bad, but at this point, you know, it does seem like the bread is paying off because it's doing what we wanted. And the melon also just continues to do terrific in terms of pulling together mites. It almost makes me feel like doing another test where there's no more melon anymore to see if they come just as readily for just the bread. So I'm always curious about what's really producing the draw, you know, what is it that's attracting the greatest number of them. I think I've got a good handful of stuff here, which in part needs to be eliminated, done away with. Some of it will get rinsed and come back in a moment. So we'll take a break now. I'll be back in a few minutes to place in the new fresh bait. We'll do the same deal with the other bin that we're doing this same process in. After getting rinsed off, there's still a little thin patch of melon remaining on this rind, if you can still call that melon anymore. All the rest is just that crazy pattern that you see on the outside and a very, very thin see-through film. Our piece of paper, oh man, also quite worn at this point. I've kind of folded it over a few times to try to hide away the big gaping hole down the middle of it. So I sort of folded it this way, folded it that way, so we've still got almost like one continuous sheet of paper, which will most likely be eliminated on the next go around. So they've got one large chunk over here, as well as a whole bunch of stuff that amounts to about the same amount as that one large big chunk. So we'll drop all the loose little bitty stuff into this one, and then this big chunk will go to the other one. And they're about the same quantity as far as I can tell. And hopefully I've pushed this down deep enough so that when I replace the plastic covering here, it lays flat and doesn't get pinned up by anything underneath it. So now I got to take down this whole camera rig. I've already stopped the GoPro from filming. And we'll go check on the other bin as well. I'm really looking forward to seeing what that overnight footage looks like with all the mites coming in to check out what was going on there, the worms coming in to check out what's going on there, so we'll see how that turned out. Take another break here. I'll get things cleaned up here and we'll check out the other bin in a little bit more of a traditional fashion without all this stuff. All right, let's move on. Okay, we're in a little bit more of a traditional setup here. And once again, I've got my cell phone to make some nice close-up shots of what we're looking at here. Those are those worms over there, but I want to see what's up with these mites. Let's train the camera on that for a moment. And once again, it looks like we've got a pretty good mite turnout here too. I don't believe that this system has quite as many mites in it as the other one. I think from watching the video, hopefully we'll be able to better tell. Maybe I'll shoot a little time lapse of it from overhead too to see if there's movement. Sometimes it's even just good to know after the fact of what was there. And I believe what I could do here is take the stuff that's going with me, stuff that I need to trash, such as this big chunk of bread, and besides what I need to trash, there's also what I need to rinse off and wash so we could reuse it. I think like we saw before too, the paper really wasn't what was drawing the mites, it seems. Once again, our cantaloupe does seem to have a good number of mites hanging out on it. But at this point, I'm starting to wonder if maybe the bread isn't possibly doing a better job. so little material remains on this piece of melon that would attract the worms. I don't think they're all that interested in the skin portion of it, the outer thin see-through membrane. It's more this remaining hunk of sort of the fruit itself, you know, what's on the inside. You can see a whole bunch of mites on the bottom side of that too. So I'm glad I gave the melon a nice thorough rinse on the other bin. We're going to do the same right here. And you know, since I'm headed to the sink anyway at this point, I don't worry too much about messing up my other hand. As long as I've got a clean finger to stop the camera recording with, I'm okay. Otherwise, the camera just needs to roll until I get back after rinsing off my hands. Okay, I think we've got them all. It often seems like it would be pretty easy to miss one or two, but hopefully we've got them all. Let's go rinse and trash what's not coming back. Alright, so the old bait's been disposed of, and the stuff that was getting rinsed and reused is here. It's what remains of the melon rind and the couple chunks of pineapple. And then onto that is going to go this fresh piece of bread. Oh, as fresh as the worms are going to get. This bread had just gotten really, really dry. Sat around for way too long. And just to make sure it didn't turn into mold, I placed it into the freezer. So I've been chipping off at it here and there as needed. And using this bread as bait here in this mite situation is as good a use as any. So, yet another day of playing around with my mites. Turning them into sort of an entertainment value in a way. It does seem like there would be options for, you know, eliminating them pretty quickly using certain species of predatory mites. Some really awesome suggestions on that have come in so far. Another option that I've been really thinking of doing in the next few days even would be to separate the worms from the castings. And then the castings will have all the remaining mites in it, and the material can just be left to get really dry at that point to try to get rid of the mites. And then on the other hand, you would have all the worms, and you can give them a quick little rinse to try to eliminate the mites too. Get them off into a fresh space, and then at that point, technically, it would be done. Very tempting idea. All right, everyone. Well, that's it for my check-in today with my African night crawlers. Gradually working down the number of mites in here, I think, almost to the point where both systems seem like we're almost at a manageable amount. But I just somehow feel that need to keep trying and trying every day. Well, not every day. Sometimes we skip a day. All right, everyone. That's it for today. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. I'm going to put everything away and get everything cleaned up, but I'm not going to keep you around for that because that's boring. Before I go, though, let me just really quickly say thank you. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, as always, please remember to leave me a thumbs up. That's always really appreciated. And if you haven't done so already, also consider subscribing to the channel too. That's really appreciated as well. All right, everyone. Have a great day. Bye.